I was going to get into a little bit of Leafs rumors that were kind of floating around. They've had Travis Dermott and Justin Hall kind of going in and out of the lineup the last couple of games. And I'm not overly concerned by it as a Leafs fan, but there has been some rumors surfacing now that both players may be on the trade block. Nick Kypreos mentioned it. A few other people have mentioned it now. And James Myrtle came out the other day and said that the return for these guys might actually be a little bit more than people actually think. And for me, these last couple of games, we've seen the big four guys, the core four, as they call them, Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, and Marner. They've scored the last 14 goals that the Leafs have scored, the four of them. And
probably a good thing to do when you're taking up half the cap.
Yeah, no, that's good. But the point is that nobody else is scoring right now. And what worries me about that is, they addressed some needs in the offseason with David Kampf coming in, defensive center, getting a guy like Andre Kasha who can kind of do a little bit of everything.
Michael Bunting
hasn't been great yet, though. Andre Kasha hasn't been great. Bunting's definitely proven that he belongs on the team. Nick Ritchie, they practiced him with Matthews today, so he's kind of got some fluctuation going on. Hasn't really found a spot yet. And then you got a guy like Kerfoot who's been around, and they protected him in the offseason, $3.5 million. And he's looked good on the Marner line with Tavares and Marner, I will say that. But at the same time, we got to start seeing him putting numbers on the board. And my wonder is that I wonder if they're now at a point where they can deal a defenseman like a Justin Hall, who has $2 million, and a guy maybe like a Pierre Engvall or an Ilya Mikheyev who's coming back from injury. I'm wondering if they can maybe package them for a forward to actually supplement some secondary scoring, because it sounds weird. The Leafs for years haven't really needed a forward necessarily with the amount of money, like you said, that they are spending on the forwards. But now they're at a point where their secondary scoring is taking a hit because the guys they brought in, they're playing well, but they aren't scoring. So they need to take a little bit of pressure off those big guys so that they don't have to score 14 goals in a row. They need some other guys to chip in, which to me in the long run will actually help those bigger guys because there'll be less pressure on them. They don't have to squeeze their stick so hard. They don't have to force it. They don't have to stay out for longer shifts. They don't have to double shift, stuff like that. It'll actually make them better in the long run too. So the one guy that I've had my eye on as a fanalist is Adrian Kempe from the LA Kings. Now, the LA Kings, Doughty's been hurt for a couple of months. They lost Sean Walker to injury the whole season. Sean Walker's out. So if maybe a Justin Hall or a Travis Dermott fits into their plans and maybe helps them on the blue line, maybe you send a forward who can kind of fill in for Kempe. I think Kempe would be a nice little fit. $2 million RFA after this year. Can score, has scored. He's physical. He's kind of got some size. Great skater. A guy like that, I think, would be a nice little fit. And third line guy, maybe second liner, depending on what you need him for. So he could be really interesting. But I'm at a place right now where I'm wondering if trading a defenseman for a forward after years of trading forwards for defensemen, Nylander comes to mind. That happened almost every day for the last couple of years. But I think it's almost flipped now. I think secondary scoring is becoming a need, and it's a really interesting time. 5-game winning streak, get blown out by LA, and all of a sudden, it got me thinking about trades.
I don't know, man. And the other thing, too, with the Leafs, right, and again, you can answer this better than anybody else, but again, the sense of urgency to potentially make a move or two now that you know what Morgan Riley's cap hit is going to be starting next season.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is where we talk about it. 5 guys taking up as much salary, as much of the cap as the Leafs are paying their top 5 guys. What does that mean for the rest of the team? What are we starting to see? Has it not been proven to the Leafs yet that you need more than 5 guys to build a championship caliber team? You can bring in Adrian Kempe all you want. You can bring in Michael Bunting all you want. You can bring in Andre Kasha and David Kampf and Josh Hosang potentially getting a look with the team. I know you're excited
That's another
about
one that I might be interested in seeing. They need to sign him to an NHL contract, though, first.
But when it comes to this again, how many of the entry-level type contracts, how many of the $1 to $2 million filler guys can you go through before you realize it's just not working, having so much invested in only 5 members of a 22-man unit? That's the thing that I struggle with the Leafs. Again, we talk about it every year. It's great to lock up the guys that sell you the most jerseys, and it's fantastic when they are supremely talented players. I'm not taking anything away from those guys. Austin Matthews, incredible player. Mitch Marner, listening today.
He's come on.
He's gotten
hot lately.
But what happens when the pressure cooker gets to him?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's a little bit scary when you look at the Leafs. This is all great, again, in November, but come April when it really, truly matters to you guys now, right? And saying this as affectionately as I can, is it going to work?
Right.
We haven't seen it yet. What's to tell you that this story is going to end any different?
Well, we haven't seen anything this year that has told me otherwise, because they've been nothing but inconsistent so far. Even during the winning streak, that winning streak included a not very good game against Chicago where they barely squeaked out. Not very good. Well, Vegas, but Vegas was decimated with injuries.
Yep.
They did play great against Boston, and I would say that they had a decently solid game against the Lightning.
Yep. But it's easy to get up for those games, right? It's easy to get up for the division rival games.
They need to start beating teams that they are supposed to beat, and that includes the LA Kings.
Not just go in and win a 3-2 game by the skin of your teeth.
Exactly.
You got to beat
those they should
guys.
have beat Chicago 7-1. Like, it shouldn't have been close, and it
shouldn't have lost to Pittsburgh 7-1.
Well, that, and especially Pittsburgh with all the injuries they had too, but especially Chicago, like with everything going on with Chicago on that day, and they still had a tough time with it. It just, there's nothing that screams massive confidence. So that's where I'm just wondering, I hear you when you say, how many of the minor pieces do they have to bring in until they realize it's just not working? I think they have to keep trying. Like, they're in a situation where they have to.
They got no other choice.
They have no other
kind
choice.
Of backed themselves into a bit of a corner.
Exactly.
And the one constant that has been there to start this season, again, it being a little bit early, Jack Campbell's looked pretty damn good.
Oh, he's been good.
Is he going to be worth $5 million Freddie money next year? In which case, you guys are in trouble.
See, now maybe they're waiting on that in terms of
waiting on him to falter a little bit.
No. I know you don't love diving super deep in the Leafs, and we'll end it. I promise.
No. I'm trying.
I know, yeah, and I appreciate it so much. You don't understand. I'm venting here.
Yes,
but maybe they're waiting on Jack Campbell's extension, like you said, with Morgan Rielly's. Now they know Morgan Rielly's and where they're going to be sitting with him next year and beyond. Maybe they're waiting to get that extension with Campbell done, so they truly know where they're going to be next year. Because the rest of the free agents going into next season are, like you said, kind of the extra pieces. They can come and go as they please. None of them are truly impactful. They need to be impactful. That's what they need. Like I said, secondary scoring isn't. There's none of it right now. But it's the exchangeable pieces. The Engvalls. Mikheyev is a free agent. Spezza, who now he's not exchangeable. He's unbelievable.
Can't give Spezza away. That's about as good a contract as you're getting in the NHL.
But I think we're pretty confident that he might be staying on the Leafs for a while. The way he's talked about it.
Tom Brady of the Leafs.
Exactly. Even I would say he's given up more than Tom Brady has given up. I would even say.
Yes.
But either way. We will leave it there.
No. Let's not leave it there. Let's go one. You want to keep going? One more point further, because I think this is the other thing.
This is a great day.
It's a great day. I'll give you your day.
Okay.
I'm sitting here. I'm feeling good. Wearing my Nashville Predators Pecorino jersey.
Yep.
Either way. So when it comes to the Leafs here, again, this is the last button point that will be on it. And I know it's been said thousands of times on podcasts.
Yeah.
Thousands of times probably upstairs when you're producing the Rod Peterson show every day. Jordan is probably loving hearing it. But nobody, when they sign these big four contracts, big five is obviously after knowing what the economic landscape is going to be. When these contracts were signed, nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody thought that there was going to be a cap freeze for 2 or 3 years. The fact of the matter is, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a great hockey team if the cap is $95 to $100 million. But that's not the world that we're living in.
I think the projection from where it should have been in today's economics without COVID, I think it was supposed to be around 90.
But even before COVID, though, it's the failure to adapt, I think, that's really been the crux in a lot of the fan base's minds, right? Because, again, it's been 5 years of the same old story. 2 of those years are only with COVID, right? So it's...
Yeah. I don't know if... Okay, so that argument has been made. 5 years of the same thing, right? I would argue that every year, to me, in my mind, I don't know if my mind's just messed up and twisted, but every year has been slightly different. You have to remember, the first year, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner were both rookies. William Nylander was still 20 the first year. They didn't have John Tavares yet, of course. Then he comes in and massively shifts the organization's entire acceleration plan. Like, it zoomed it up there right away. They were no longer...
Do I need to go get a razor and grab my Ryan Leslie take now, Clark? Come on now.
They were no longer... well, they were no longer a rebuilding team.
Nope.
They were immediately pushed into a different stratosphere of expectation, bringing in John Tavares. So,
as you should when you have the number 1, the number 4, and the number 8 overall
exactly.
pick.
But I think other teams that we see, like maybe a Tampa or something like that, they had all these guys too. They had Stamkos, Hedman, et cetera, but they didn't go out and add some massive free agent like 2 years in and speed it all up. So I don't think the organization was good enough when Tavares got signed to be. Like, it changed everything. I don't think it was good enough to be at a part where, we're automatically Stanley Cup contenders. There was a lot of flaws.
Take John Tavares away from that team and add 3 pieces of the $3 million mark. Are you guys a better team?
That's the argument. Well, you keep Kadri, for example.
Right.
Then you maybe go out and get a different defenseman. Maybe you go out and get another depth scoring winger. Like you said, that's the argument.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time.
And hindsight's 2020, right? We're never going to get that answer. The fact
is,
they've made
that Kanye clip, right?
It's Kanye.
They wanted to see what would happen if I didn't win. Well, I guess we'll never know.
Okay.
And that's the same with that.
Alrighty. And done.
Done. Cut it.